Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Private Banking Strategies with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing great. Wonderful.
First of all, if you have not heard the last podcast, this is actually the second part of it. The guys covered some amazing things. I'm going to let them speak to that. But I have learned a ton from you guys. And I think I was in the sheep crowd early on because I say that as lovingly as I can to myself. But when you guys started talking about, centralized banks and having your money in a banking system and things aren't truly guaranteed the way we think they are. They're not as safe as we think they are. And at that time, I was like, okay, well, let's see what these guys are talking about. And now I've learned a whole lot more. And I think that if anybody's been paying real attention to what's going on in the United States and in Canada, we see things that are just mind-blowing and really have been reinforced by exactly what you've said. And I say this because I know that you guys aren't working in Canada. But one thing that happened in Canada at the time of the recording is that, I think it was Trudeau gave permission to the banks to freeze people's accounts because they're protesting. And I think if that can happen in Canada, that can certainly happen here. I mean, come on. I mean, it's the United States. They have no problem dipping their fingers into things that they shouldn't, right? I mean, I don't know if you've read that or heard that news, but that's a huge thing. People's accounts, their personal accounts are being frozen. And again, I know we're not talking Canada here, but it's not like it couldn't happen here.
The constitutional protections that we've enjoyed since the inception and founding of our country, Eric, have been attacked and by the leftist and the communist Marxist thought that is prevailing in colleges and certain so-called educational platforms is stunning. And that's why we've been blowing the trumpet and ringing the bell and trying to wake people up to the fact that, yes, the things that you're describing there that are happening in Canada, they could happen here. And you need to be protected. You shouldn't be caught unaware, especially when there are such simple solutions that you can execute now and protect yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, Eric, let me also comment on that. There's a book out there that I think people need to read. It's critical and it's an eye-opener. And it's called The Creature of Jekyll Island. That book tells you who controls our country, in essence, and how the Federal Reserve was born. And it's a huge eye-opener, and it addresses that question that you just posed, because everybody is seeing what's going on and they can't believe it. Well, we have to understand who is really in control and what we can do about it. So,
yeah, not only who's in control, but what lengths they'll go to stay in control. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns. I think that's what a lot of people are seeing now over the past 6, 7, 8 years. It's just been turmoil. And I think people are starting to take, what you guys are saying seriously and what other people are speaking about very seriously, because it used to be, well, that's just conspiracy theory talk, blah, blah, blah. No, they've always had the ability and the power. Maybe they didn't flex it as strongly as they have been lately, but now we're seeing some stuff. And so I know that you guys are planning on speaking about solutions today, and you're really kind of speaking to those folks that are involved in crypto and others that are interested. So where do we start today?
Well, I want to also just mention something about the book that Vance mentioned and the year 1913. It was a critical year, Eric, where both the IRS and the Federal Reserve were created. And it wasn't by coincidence that the IRS and the Federal Reserve were created at the same time. And it's at that point that they put pressure on the president to acquiesce to the Federal Reserve's involvement in monetary policy in the U.S. And that's where we effectively started down a road that we should have never started down. And so, what it's led us to now is inflationary spending of up to $30 trillion is about the current mark of national debt. And there's 6 to 10 trillion slated by the current administration for further spending. And there's nothing backing those dollars. So anyone knows that this form of Keynesian economics and derivative lending and fractionalized banking has caused our monetary system to effectively implode. And the writing's on the wall, but you don't have to play in that sandbox, as I like to say. And we've got solutions for you. And for those folks out there in the crypto investment world that are expecting large profit-taking possibilities in the coming months, or those who are selling businesses or have inheritances coming or any other type of large sum income, there's a way to plan and structure even before you have the money in your hand. And like we talked about in the last episode, we like to form the perfect private family bank through a contract with insurance companies. And we have a whole life component, and there's also a term insurance rider, Eric, which allows someone to execute an option once that they have that windfall money coming in. And Vance, I'll let you chime in here and explain what we've seen in the past 6 months with expected proceeds coming in from crypto that have become delayed, and some of the mentality that folks have out there with that.
Yeah, I want our listeners to understand a lot of times in life, information comes at us so fast that we have to do what's called pigeonholing. Oh, I know all about that. And when we hear about life insurance, oh, I know what that is. I've heard that. Dave Ramsey said this, or Susie Orman has said that. And you rat hole information thinking you know what it's all about, when in fact you don't. One of the very, very safest, most lucrative investments on the planet today are held within these life insurance contracts. How would you like to be able to have a guaranteed growth higher than any place else we can get it, and yet pull money out and put it to work and self-finance, put it back, do all kinds of things, having that interest, that compounded interest, income tax-free? Well, we've got another phenomenon going on right now. People have learned, they've heard about the private banking. If you haven't heard about it, a lot of times we're wondering if we're living under a rock, because this news, this information about private banking is out there now. It's starting to filter into a lot of people from friends and everyone else who already have the strategy going. And now, to address the windfalls, okay, something's coming in, so I want to get this set up. Seth and Vance have said this, so yeah, I believe it. I've done my study. It feels good. It feels great. And let's go get qualified. Let's qualify for the very maximum amount we can qualify. And that's what we do. We go out to several carriers and find out how much they'll insure these people for. And they qualify. And then it's time for them to exercise what's known as their SAFE strategy, something to get started so they can learn the system, so they can absorb these windfalls that are coming in. Well, because of the delay of crypto, and throughout my whole life, for the last 40 years, when an estate plan or an estate is being divvied out through inheritance, there's always a complication. There's always, oh, we can't release the money yet. And there's always these complications. Well, the people that are doing it right with the crypto right now, since they don't have the money, they're looking at what can I do to preserve all this underwriting? And we're saying, well, there's a term option out there. For pennies on the dollar, you can literally take those contracts and preserve them for the next 10 years if you need to. And sometime between the next 6 months, 8 years, whatever else, you'll want to decide if you want to start converting those. You don't have to convert the whole things. You can piecemeal in. You can start conservative and go strong, or if the big windfalls come in, then you can max out those contracts. So we're seeing people do it right, but we're seeing too many people postponing, saying, oh no, we want to wait until the windfalls come in, and then it's really too late. This is a great opportunity to solve all these issues, and we're going to give you all these solutions today, but we have to come up to the plate and go forward. So I hope that helps. Seth, go ahead with the rest there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Vance. So the term riders help people create an option that stays open, Eric, for them, and it gives them the ability to convert small outlays of cash into large banks. And that's what most of our clients want to do. They want to create an option where they can have a large place to bank their cash. And the reasons that you want to do that are manyfold. We've got 7 pillars of private banking strategies outlined on our website, and we've done a number of podcasts that dive into some of those specific pillars, but it bears repetition. In fact, it bears repetition over and over. And the number one pillar for private banking strategies is asset protection. And the asset protection is one that allows you to keep what you make, and you don't have the risk of creditors taking it. You don't have the risk of having money evaporate. I mean, how too often do people have their expenses, their monthly expenses, they're breaking even, and they don't understand where their money went? Well, with this system, we teach you how to get the money that it's flowing out from you back into your own private bank. And you realize all of the growth within your private bank, tax-free, and it compounds annually. So you really don't have to work any harder, Eric, or win the Nobel Prize or do anything that's extra extraordinary. You simply need to implement tools and strategies that are at your disposal, and we've demonstrated that over and over again with everyone from blue collar workers to very high, ultra high net worth families and businesses.
Do you see yourself in that story? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Are you ready for help? Please call Private Banking Strategies at 817-200-4777 or visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Seth, let me break in here for just a minute. We have examples. We're actually seeing money work and flow the correct way. People, sometimes they don't understand what money really is. Money is absolutely worthless unless it's working, unless it's moving. And it's an economy. It's a town. Picture us when we leave home. We should have had the education and the wherewithal about money to go create our own family town. Picture dollars coming in. You're on vacation. You go into a town. You're going to go to town, buy some groceries, get gas, maybe some trinkets, whatever else in town. That money comes into that grocery store. The grocery store owner then takes that money. Now he has to replace the items that were sold, so he's going to place an order. Now that money's going to go be put in the bank, or he's going to take some profit. He's earned enough money that he can go buy a new car. Okay, so that dollar goes over to that car. That car dealership does the same thing. He's got to order another car, and he made some profit, and he's got to have some dental work. And so that dollar's going to go over to the dentist, and over and over and over and over. So a town will flourish depending on how fast that dollar moves around. Well, in our own families, we've got to have an economy. Debt is important, especially if we can control it. interest rates going out, we don't like that very much. But if our return and our volume of increase is higher than that expense, then money is flowing. The very worst thing we can do in the economy that we're talking about is letting money sit idle in accounts, doing nothing for us, but trying to earn interest rates. So I wish I could just help people catch that vision. And once you do, then the lights come on. And we start understanding that there is a brighter world out there where we can work once for the money and start putting it to work and keep bringing in new money instead of having to start over every single month because we spent our principal. Well, that was my 2 cents worth on this topic. So let's keep going.
Well, yeah, and actually, we've got a lot more than 2 cents. In episode 4 that we produced, Eric, we get deep into the velocity of money and teaching people how to get the money back. So if you want to go do a deeper dive on velocity of money, listen to episode 4 that we produced. Another thing about what we're providing is a safe, no-risk growth. This isn't like an investment in equities, stocks, bonds, or other types of market investments where it can evaporate. And people right now are clamoring of when is this music going to stop? It's the longest bull market in history. And everyone knows that markets cycle. Real estate markets, investment markets, every market cycles. And whether it's a drop off the cliff or if it's just a correction, there are corrections in order. Whereas with the strategy that we're presenting, it is a steady increase, and then as things start to pick up and compound after years 7 and 8, the increase becomes more parabolic almost. And Vance has talked about this, and I've talked about this, how we're creating a bank that's more than 100% efficient. You're putting in $1 and you're getting $1.20 or $1.25 in actual cash value that you're able to put to work in your business. And there's no other business like that on the face of the planet where you can get a multiplied effect from what you're putting in your business and able to put that to work for yourself. So not only are you guaranteed an annual return somewhere between 3.5 and 3.8%, plus dividends, which have been paid for almost 200 years on these assets without fail any year, even through the Great Depression or economic recessions or any other type of war or catastrophe, they've been paid. So you've got those things working, plus the fact that you can use the same dollar more than once, over and over again. And the returns that we're seeing are in the 30s and 40 and 50% internal rates of return. And we break those down with examples in some of the other podcasts. And so if you want to binge content, be our guest. It's all on our website, and we'll tell you how to look at that at the end of the show.
You know, I just love this topic. I love it when lights come on for people and they can see. If I were to buy the debt on my car and have the person in the mirror, we have to be a client of our own business in order for our business to succeed. If I turn around and make that payment to me, the return of scale is astronomical. 50% is the average. There's no taxable events in your economy, by the way, folks. There are no taxable events on the gains and growth inside your private banking strategy. Bringing new money in, now that's a different story. Uncle Sam wants his fair share. I'm sure he wants his fair share on the inside, but it's private. And there's no taxable events.
So let me ask you a question, because you covered this a little bit in the last podcast, Vance, specifically, where you said that you started with one contract. I think that everybody does, but you've had to grow in the number of contracts because your bank has grown, which is it's a good problem to have, in my opinion, right? Growth means is a positive thing in my thought. So when it comes to these folks that are, maybe they have a sale of a business or it's cryptocurrency and they've got a windfall or an inheritance, like you've said, How quickly can you create multiple accounts?
As fast as you want. They may not all be on your life. They're not all on my life. I've got 10 grandkids, and I'm asking my kids to have more. I need more policies. So, but buying debt, we find since we know that we finance everything we buy in life, and once we absorb that, and I had a windfall when I read Nelson Nash's book, and it turned my life upside down. And to discover this, I cashed out, and I took my money and I bought my debt. And that flow coming in now, every single month that was outflow, is filling up my contracts faster and faster. And then I keep lending out more money. I'm to the point where we have a family bank. We lend out for cars. We're lending out for education, for toys. And I'm financing my own real estate mortgages. So it just keeps growing, and I want to put it back because I don't want it in real banks, and that's where I'm having the problem.
Gotcha. So, I mean, for anybody that's getting a windfall.
Right.
Yeah, so anybody that has a windfall, they can set up multiple contracts at the same time. I mean, obviously there's a process they have to do to get everything set up to begin with, and then you teach them how to then set up multiple contracts so they can take care of this windfall and get it out of the regular banking system. Exactly. And it's much, much better, and we perspire less is a better word for this, if we start and test this all out and have it all proven before the windfall comes in. And now... Got it. Before they sell. Yeah. Now we're rocking and rolling. Now we can just jump into all those policies because we know what we're doing.
And the way that vehicle moves is through the term rider option, Eric, because let's say, for example, you pay pennies on the dollar, a few $100s a year for a term policy that has, let's say, $1 million benefit to it. And so if you happen to die in the next 10 years, then the insurance company is going to pay $1 million, for example. But you have the option when that crypto proceed comes in, or the sale of the business or the inheritance comes in, to say, hey, I want to convert my term into a whole life policy. And that $1 million of benefit that I've got, I want to convert it into a whole policy. How much can I bank into a whole life policy? And if you've got multiple term conversion options with multiple companies, that's where you can bank multiple figure into your banking with one swatch.
Oh, there's one more secret, Eric. The way we set up these contracts, there's profit every single year because these contracts make you an owner of the life insurance company. And the way we originally set up the contracts is that the profits actually goes out in a single pay and buys an additional life insurance, which adds to the cash value. A person over a lifetime would end up with far, far, far more death benefit, total insurance, than they could ever qualify for under that strategy. Eventually, retirement, instead of having it grow there, you take it as cash. And, we've got other podcasts that explain how, you take retirement. I just get excited about this, so I could ramble all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Vance is talking about, the paid up additions rider portion, which is a brilliant aspect of the contract, and ultimately, if you've got all this money stacked up in a bank, you want to. Most people want to have some type of retirement strategy. How much am I going to use and at this age? And if I need $150,000 a year from the time I'm 65 or the time I'm 95, assuming I live that long, how do I need to structure that? And with this type of private banking, you can accomplish that. You can figure that out, and you're not subject to the stock market changing your plan or some other type of intervening factor, like a government increasing taxes on your government pensions or your qualified plans, which is going to happen, in my opinion. And thereby, you've got to live on less. Or another likely example is the purchasing power of our dollar continuing to decrease. So you've got you've got to be able to keep up with that. And some of the ways you do that is through the velocity of money, multiple touches on the same dollar, your safe growth, and thereby you're giving yourself a lot better shot at winning this race.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm, again, the writing's on the wall. We've seen things change. Laws have been passed. This, to me, I'm super excited about it because of multi-generational wealth, and that, building that multi-generational plan and doing that. We didn't really touch on that today in this podcast, but you've spoken about it on others. But we saw a law change where if somebody inherited an IRA, there used to be the stretch IRA, and now everybody knows that that's gone, that whoever inherits that IRA has to take it over 10 years. And that's all about the taxes, right? Uncle Sam wants his money right now. So now they've limited it, and that's going to affect people's tax brackets, and it's huge. So that quote-unquote multi-generational wealth, when it comes to passing something like an IRA, now the power, a huge amount of power from that was taken away because they changed the law. But this is totally different, and that's what excites me. I know we're running low, and I probably just opened a whole can of worms for another day. But before we end today's podcast, is there anything else that people need to hear about today's topic?
I just want our listeners to know that there's hundreds and thousands of crypto investors out there who are going to watch their potential dreams slide by. But the people that are listening to us, they don't have to be in that group. They can realize their profits. They can execute these safe plans, get their term policies in place, and experience the financial freedom when the crypto market's in a place where they could liquidate. That gives them the security and helps them realize their dreams. But they have to follow. They have to follow the roadmap, follow the plan, and can't say how many people we're just so thrilled for and proud of who have executed the strategies and are showing that private banking strategies is the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to your personal finances.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Vance, again, thank you so much for your time today. Always a pleasure speaking with you. And Seth, great content. I appreciate everything that you're telling me. Again, every time I get together with you, I learn something new and I get really excited. So I hope the audience is experiencing the same thing, which I believe they are. And of course, we want to thank you, audience, for tuning in and listening to the Private Banking Strategies with Vance Lowe and Seth Hicks. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Vance and Seth come out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Private Banking Strategies, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please call Private Banking Strategies at 817-200-4777 or visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Private Banking Strategies. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.